Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman, the Honeyman, is still with me. Localhoneyman.com is website. You know, the importance of raw honey is critical. I don't think people understand that, really too much. They just think honey's honey. Just get some honey if you like honey. No. The raw honey, folks, is really tremendous. And you can't let them pasteurize it and cook all the nutrients out of it. You got to have the raw honey because that's what really, it helps with allergies. I believe it or not, it helps regulate blood sugar. I mean, it goes on and on of the benefits. Kurt, do you want to take just a second and kind of double down on that a little bit? That's important.
Well, thank you, Sam. Another thing that is amazing, by the way, I guess I should start off by saying Buenos dias. Greetings and salutations. Howdy. Thank you, Sam. But one of the other things that I've thought about lately is, one of the beekeepers that we work with, and we have there's around 10 of them that we work with. They have, as far as I can tell, real close to 50,000 hives. Now, when I say that,
50,000.
Some people,
wow,
they look at you and they think, do you mean 50,000 bees? Do you mean, something like that? I can tell their minds just kind of like blown, and it is kind of hard to understand. But I remember, one of the guys that we get the raw cranberry honey from, he let me know that they're up to about 35,000. So with the other guys, then you're real close to 50,000 hives. And what some people, when they look at our website and they see, cranberry, blackberry, blueberry, raspberry, and they see marshmallow dream and all these different things, they think, most of the time, the first thing they think is,
I think marshmallow bees. That's what I think.
Yeah, they think, hey man, I don't want honey with something added to it. And I always think, man, it reminds me of when the state sent us a little love note that said they were going to charge us $5,000 a day because they thought we were putting avocados into the honey. And what was really happening was it was honey when the bees are pollinating the avocados that we get, and it's a special looking kind of honey. I mean, it looks almost like used motor oil, but it has a molassesy taste to it. But, it's just so amazing. It's kind of like we've talked so many times. What you don't know, is it can still be true even because even if you don't know it, it just means you don't know it. And in this case, I grew up thinking there was the honey, and I found out I was wrong. And it's so cool to know that the reason this kind of thing doesn't happen in most places where you get all these different types of honey is because the guys that are that big, literally with that many hives, they literally put their honey in these big 50-gallon drums. And not too many people are that excited about buying 50-gallon drum of honey.
Come on, Kurt.
And so, yeah. So then when they go to sell it, they load their big trucks up with a whole bunch of 50-gallon drums, haul it to the big, quote, honey company. And those guys cook it, dump it all together and cook it. And you just don't get to taste the individual tastes. And when things are cooked, Sam, like heated way up so that they're safe for us, you miss that. And so much of the taste, so much of the benefits, I believe, but
it's the difference. It's the difference between, say, run-of-the-mill pizza and like a gourmet pizza company, right?
Oh yeah. So much, or the fruits. Like one of our buddies, there's a family that comes down from Montana and they head to California and they go to get certain kind of oranges. And you don't really think of too many Montanans, going to California to get oranges, but they get certain ones, and when you get them and taste them, you think, man, that's sure different than the store, so many times it's that way. When you get those nice, good things, kind of like good information, you just thirst for it and you wish everybody could get it. That's one reason, I support this particular program and so many others like it, right, Sam?
Yeah, and the question becomes too, there's so many different honeys. You got to just try them, folks. And that's one of the best ways is you try them. You can get the honey sticks, and that way you can just kind of try little samples of different things. The honey sticks aren't in all the different flavors, but there's some of them. That's one way. You can buy smaller amounts and try it. You can go to an event where Kurt Crosby is. He goes to booths and, lets people try the honey and stuff. And that's like crazy town, people trying raw honey. I mean, everybody could die, but it's still pretty cool. And no one's died yet. You know what I mean? So it's pretty awesome. And my favorite is the cinnamon kind of honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're talking about the cream cinnamon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've eaten that with a spoon, I mean, you can just dig right into that. I mean, and enjoy it and think, man, it's good and good for me, So it's so nice to have those things working together.
All right. Anyway, localhoneyman.com. And by the way, when we say local, that's because he lives in the great state of Utah. But he ships honey all over the country, too. So if you want to, order some honey, you can get it shipped directly to your door. He's got a cool website, too. We were talking about the freewatercoinco website, freewatercoinco.com website a little earlier, but last episode. But this time we're talking about localhoneyman.com. They've got a pretty cool site, too. You guys are doing all right when you go there. You can get involved and learn and, get raw honey delivered directly to your door. It's like Amazon, right?
Yeah, and we're even working on franchises where you can basically, franchise it. You could be in Alabama or Alaska and be the guy, that's
You're
there.
You're the local honeyman, Kurt.
Yeah, localhoneyman.com, and we can support you and show you how we've done it, and then you can find out what you can do in your little neighborhood in your area, and that way there's local honeyman everywhere.
All right, let's talk about fraud. I hate to do this in the same segment, but there's fraud going on all over the country, folks. It's even hitting the top and bottom of the hour news now. And the problem is they got food stamps everywhere, and no one knows if they're going to real people or if they're going to people that are illegally here or if they're going to people who already have more than their fair share. They have no idea what's going on, Kurt, and they're blatantly admitting that reality now, right?
Well, yeah, and how you look for everybody wants to get a stock tip on something that maybe is really going to go high or, something like that. Man, if you talk about a growth industry, man, looking for fraud in government, I don't know if you can find a bigger growth industry there. But President Trump is basically saying, man, if we get rid of all the fraud in government, we can even save Social Security. And I'm thinking, maybe we ought to get rid of that too. But anyway, the headline I saw from this is an X piece from what they call Muckraker. He says, headline, massive EBT and charity fraud exposed. Immigrants are openly buying food with food stamps and collecting it from charities, then shipping it overseas to sell for profit. Well, what's wrong with that? These guys are just living the American dream, right, Sam?
Buy low, sell high, Kurt.
So it says in Lawrence, Massachusetts, a whistleblower, man, those whistleblowers, revealed a welfare scam that the Dominican community has been running for over a decade. You and I, we don't pay a parking ticket and you're going to the slammer. It says, here's how it works. Dominican immigrants buy food with EBT cards. And of course, they need that. Or take it for free from food banks. They then load it into...
That's the real ultimate buy low, sell high, Kurt. You take it free from food banks. And then it's all profit, baby.
Yeah, they then load it into shipping barrels and send it to the Dominican Republic, where it's sold for profit in local bodegas. We track the guys.
What's that, like a shopping mall or something?
I think so. No,
it's an outdoor market, isn't it?
That's one of those fancy words where, us country bumpkins go, what in the world is that? It says, we track the entire pipeline from corner stores in Massachusetts to shipping hubs in New York to bodegas in Santo Domingo. that are stocked with food paid for by the American taxpayer. Oh, those American taxpayers, man, they love paying for stuff like that. And then they say, we're prepared to share our findings with any legitimate investigative body. And so then you can see the pictures and all that kind of stuff.
So, Kurt, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think this will be, we're really going to get to the bottom of this and stop this fraud? And can JD Vance really take this on and get it done? Or do you think it's just going to be like the income tax? It's like, oh, we complain and say how bad it is. And, they go through that and it kind of goes in cycles. And then it's like, oh, the IRS is really bad. And then, they don't do anything. And then 20 years later, oh, my, the IRS is really hostile and bad. And then they don't do anything. And when we get back, let's have you answer that question. We'll talk about that. We got a whole lot more to cover, too. Believe it or not, I agree with the teachers union. Can you believe that? It's so rare, I thought it was news. Hold on, Kurt and Sam, you're talking Liberty Roundtable live.
Are you watching what's happening in our country and asking, what can I do? Join the John Birch Society in Salt Lake City, June 6th, for a powerful one-day conference. The day includes a host of respected speakers, 2 meals, and meaningful connections. You'll gain clarity on the issues and walk away with practical steps you can take to your community. Reserve your seat today at jbs.org/SLC26. That's jbs.org/SLC26.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The Foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing Foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various Foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
All right, back with you live. Sam and Kurt, we're talking about this fraud going on in the country, folks. And, my response to this is it's bad. It's really bad. But you know what, Kurt? The best way to not have this fraud, in my humble opinion, would be just to go back to the way it used to be. Why do we have food stamps in the first place at the federal government level? We want to mandate the states because the states aren't babysitting this properly and all this kind of stuff. Why don't we go back to the churches and let, churches and nonprofits and private organizations and well-known philanthropists and, the Bill Gates and the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses of the world and can take care of things. Local churches, good guys like me can take care of our neighbors. And why don't we just throw down the Christian way and say we don't really need the government doing this at all? And if we didn't, there wouldn't be any fraud, Gert. Am I just stupid or what?
Well, I know, Sam. I mean, imagine presenting a solution by, we've been told so many times, hey, if you don't learn from history, you're condemned to repeat it, right? So if we look back in history, when did we have, this kind of fraud? I don't think we had it. Like you said, back in George Washington's time, I don't think Dominican Republican, guys were getting free food sent by the federal government money, your tax dollars back then. But no, we got all these wonderful programs that we never should have had that are all literally against the Constitution. And so, like you say, the solution is right there. One of the other things you asked me before the break, you said, hey, man, do you think it'll really, something will really come of this? And I know that I should be going like, man, I was going to almost say, hey, I haven't really seen it in my lifetime, but I have seen some amazing things. Like, for example, I was looking at one thing, this Cornyn, Paxton deal, right?
They spent $90 million on that race, my friend.
I know. Well, I was even thinking it might even been more, like 150 million or whatever. But bottom line is that Cornyn dude, this incumbent senator, he lost by 28 points.
It was a landslide against him. People are sick of it, Kurt.
you look at that and you just kind of think, like the headline says, the Bush wing of the old Republican Party is basically gone. And I know that's hard to believe because, man, we've watched that thing just, been around forever. What I call the rhinos, or in my opinion, the kingmen, have been basically just hanging on like forever. And yet now, I'll tell you what, there's some big stuff happening, and I don't know for sure if they'll get all this fraud taken care of, but kind of like I was saying before, if you were looking for a growth industry, man, I'll tell you what, I can't really think of any more of a growth industry than, stamping out fraud in government. Man, I'll tell you what.
Amen to that. All I can tell you is it's good news, at least, that we're seeing a lot of changes. It's good news that a lot of the people that have been there forever are leaving. When people go there, they have real good intentions. It's just when they get there for a long time, sometimes it goes south. So I think a new breed of people is really the answer. Donald Trump has led that. Donald Trump isn't perfect, but he's done a real good job at a lot of things. And we got to give credit where credit's due. And the other thing we need to avoid, and I'll be the first one to say I'm kind of guilty of this, folks. So, I'm not here to attack anybody. But it's easy to want to blame Trump when things don't go the way we want to. And it's easy to say, he should have done this, he should have done that, he should have whatever. And it might be true, but it doesn't change the fact that whether it's true or not isn't important. What's important is realizing that he is only one man. And he can only focus on as much as he can at a time. And the truth is he's really been taking a beating, in my opinion, from his own party and from Congress. Congress talks big. You got the Mike Johnsons of the world that are like, oh, yeah, we're all the way behind Donald. They haven't done a thing, folks. They're all just busy on vacation. They've ran interference for President Trump behind the scenes more than you can possibly imagine. So when things go wrong, I really think it's a bad idea to blame President Trump in many cases because he's tried and he gets shut down. His pro-life is a great example of that. The Republicans don't dare talk about pro-life midterms. They're too chicken. But President Trump has been the most pro-life president in our lifetime. That's one example, right? But I'm just saying we got to really be careful of that we give credit where credit's due, but we don't throw too much unfair blame because it tilts the scales in an unfair reality. And that doesn't mean Trump's perfect. It just means we've got to be honest about that. Now, I agree with the teachers union, Kurt, and this is so rare. I just have to tell you about it. I've never, I don't know that I've ever agreed with them before. Here's the headline. Teachers union advocates for screens to be gone. Yeah, they're citing what's called tech overload. So they want less screens in school classrooms. The American Federation of Teachers, led by President Randy Weingarten, I guess is the leader of that group or whatever. They've launched a campaign to eliminate the use of digital screens and AI chatbots for kids in grade school, kindergarten through like third grade. And they're saying people shouldn't even have AI until they get to middle school. Now, the initiative, unveiled at the National Press Club, seeks to foster, quote, more hands-on, human-centered learning environments. This push aligns with, they say, broader concerns about the impact of excessive technology on students' social skills and critical thinking ability. Weingarten says, hey, this is a need for national safety and privacy regulations relating to AI and other technologies in schools, and criticized the previous administration. Now, I assume that's the Biden administration, so I'm surprised. But, they say there's a growing resistance against pervasive technology in classrooms supported by all kinds of groups. Well, Kurt, I just have to agree with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a shock, isn't it?
It's just, what the heck?
And yet, I saw one story a little while back, and they were saying, man, with all this AI, how in the world are you ever going to know who's really knows this stuff when it comes to college or high school or whatever like that? And some genius guy was like, well, it's called an oral exam. It's like, oh, yeah, I guess that might do it, huh?
Yeah, you can actually go back to simple, basic stuff that actually really works, huh, Kurt?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, imagine using back to the basics, huh?
Yeah, if you want to know if honey's good, just taste it.
Well, it's just like, you mentioned the National Press Club is where they had this event. And I thought back to the time when we were at the National Press Club, and, it's just amazing. Really, if you want to find the solutions to almost any problem, you can find them. And the whole point is you just got to be willing to address it. And like you said about Congress, makes you think of that old phrase where they go, what's the opposite of progress? Congress.
Yeah.
But
well, it's a con for sure. And that's the problem that I really believe that of all that, we can blame the courts, we can blame President Trump, but the group that seems to always avoid the blame and never really be focused on is Congress. And I believe they're the ones most responsible for the lack of action in the Trump administration on certain things and for the interference. I mean, Trump gets beaten up all day long over these things. It's really Congress, not President Trump, in I believe most, if not all the cases. I mean, all might be a stretch, but in most for sure. I mean, Trump's even talked about getting rid of the income tax, the IRS. He said, we got the ERS now. We got the tariffs. We don't need the IRS. All we got to do is have Congress go, amen, brother, and get her done. Right?
I know. That's amazing, isn't it? The External Revenue Service or tariffs taking center stage. I mean, man, that's just a solution whose time has come.
But all they do is just trash President Trump and say, he's just this and that. And look, I agree that Congress needs to be involved in tariffs. But, I mean, Richard Mack brings this up, Kurt, and you got to ask the question, what do you do when Congress is so derelict? They're on vacation. They're just infighting to the point where you can't get anything done. Do you wait for Congress and do nothing? Or do you try to do it yourself? I'm not here to debate the answer as much as to say I get the dilemma, right?
Yeah. And you could almost look at this as, I don't know if you've learned about this one story, but President Trump is, he's a builder, and he was kind of ticked off with the whole Washington, that mall thing in between, what is it, the Washington Monument and the Lincoln
National Mall, yeah.
Yeah, and he said basically they spent millions, and this big reflecting pool is just ugly and it's full.
Yeah, they couldn't even get it done. They just wasted a bunch of money, right?
And he's like, man, we're gonna fix this thing up, man. When you see the pictures of that and the solutions that he's presented, it's just amazing.
Many people could say that's quibbling over things that don't matter. My response is it's something that needs to be finished. And if we're going to finish it, let's finish it right, inexpensively and quickly. And let's make it become a legacy. Let's make it to where when you go there, you're like, you know what? They used to have those signs. Biden did that, pointing at the gas pumps, right? You could have Trump did that, pointing at the beautiful thing there and say, hey, at least he finished it. And yeah, it was out of control when it got started, but hey, at least somebody came in, an adult in the room came in and took care of business. And look at this now. Look at that. It's incredible, right?
That's right. You couldn't be more correct. And that's one example. You remember that deal about moving the embassy in Jerusalem all those years ago where they were telling him it's going to be billions and billions for the thing. And he did it for, I don't know, it was less than a tenth of the money, and you remember that story about the Sharpie? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just so many situations like that. So,
and you compare that to the auto pen.
Oh yeah. I mean, the answers are there. All we got to do is really go after them. And I mean, imagine a Congress that would do it. Man, that'd be impressive.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're not just here to praise Trump and tell you that he's the cat's meow. You know what? He's a person too. We really look to Jesus Christ for solutions. But I will say this in President Trump's defense, he's been more willing to talk about God than any other president in my lifetime too.
Amen.
So, he's far from perfect, but he deserves credit, Kurt.
Yep. And we want to present solutions so that, who knows, somebody might take our suggestions.
Amen. Crank up the ERS, shut down the IRS, shut down the Federal Reserve, let the free markets take care of business. That's what we would call the way to go. By the way, I agree with the folks on the education stuff. Hey, let's just go ahead and let kids learn without all the high tech and anything else. Let's let them just, people, humans, relationships, social skills. Let them just learn. It's really quite simple. God has a plan, and it doesn't take man meddling too much in it. Just let it unfold as it does. For Kurt Crosby, localhoneyman.com, I'm Sam Bushman. God save the Republic of the United States of America.